Greetings, fellow Empyreans. I am Ashtarothi, the voice of New Eden, and it is February 24th, YC125, and this is the Eve Universe Show! So, once again, before we begin, I will read each section, and then we'll talk a little bit about each section, and then we'll read the next one, okay? So, let us begin. Caldari State uncovers evidence of Amarr spying as diplomatic crisis deepens. Ulai, Genesis. Caldari State investigators have uncovered evidence of Amarr Empire's agents gathering information on Caldari efforts to develop so-called interstellar shipcaster technology, according to sources at Concord Assembly in Ulai. The Caldari investigation team is understood to have confirmed in substance the accusation by the Minmatar Republic of espionage carried out by Amarr agents operating throughout the joint Edencom and Concord Technology Intelligence Task Force. Investigators from Caldari Navy Intelligence are understood to have been working closely with operatives of Archive K of the House of Records, an organization believed to be a secret intelligence and security agency answering to the chairman of the chief executive panel, Akimaka Saraki. The investigation team has apparently gathered material, data, and testimony to be used in a report on the Edencom Concord Task Force that Caldari delegate Menz Repala, CEO of Ishikone Corporation, intends to present into a closed session of the Concord Assembly. As news of the Caldari findings emerged, it was also reported that Royal Heir Hamadeh Kodor has been recalled to Amarr Prime for a meeting of the Privy Council and, quote, consultation with Empress Katniss I. Minmatar Ambassador Kaitan Yun has urged a, quote, full investigation into Edencom and AG-12's Technology Monitoring Office by independent parties, end quote. Although it is unclear which independent parties would be in position to carry out an adequate inquiry. Gallente Ambassador Devin Malatate has continued to press the Federation's position that, quote, this incident shows the wisdom of the technology-sharing treaties and the importance of enforcing them and the general interstellar order, end quote. The Federation position has been described by Republic parliamentarian and Concord Assembly Representative Tobias Ifrit as repugnantly disingenuous and self-serving hypocrisy. Representative Ifrit made its remarks to reporters as he departed for a security conference between Caldari and Minmatar officials in the Arakan system. So, minor spoiler, that last line, and some of this does actually lead into the next video, or the next report, but the interesting thing for this to me is this idea of, like, the Caldari and the Amarr. So, historically, I've brought up before Archive K, and the relationship between Archive K and the secret sharing of information between the Amarr and the state, in particular when it came to their appointments within Edencom. The fact that the organizations themselves do not seem to be in agreement with one another does kind of add some interesting flavor to the whole mix, where it's hard to tell whether or not the agent that maybe the person, card player, was in contact with that is now on Edencom, was he fully aligned with the Caldari? How much of the Caldari-Amarr intelligence sharing process has been ongoing? Has that ended? Where is this strain going to go? Now, a bunch of this has to do with the fact that the next event involves stealing of information from each other. So it's kind of trying to explain why Amarr might be stealing information from the Caldari or Caldari stealing information from the Amarr, because the Amarr do have to steal, in theory, the shipcaster technology or the novel transportation technology from the state. So, yeah, that's a piece of all of this. It is also interesting that, like, Royal Heir Kodor was pulled back at the same time while this whole delegation thing is going on. It's kind of like, they're pulling back their diplomat at the same time that everybody else's diplomats are going there. AG-12 is a department that is basically designed to try to monitor the technology sharing, like make sure that no one group, no one empire gets a technology above and beyond the others. But the accusation from previous reports is that members of the AG-12 specifically were operating as effectively spies against the Caldari by the Amarr to gain the transportation technology, or at least to monitor the status of the Caldari's transportation technology research. Also, the Gallente ambassador, Devin Malatate, who's been around for a while, has this position that, well, this is why information sharing is so important, says the only empire that didn't end up with secret technology to be stolen by other people. So, that's probably why the Republic, who has secret technology that can be stolen, to call it self-serving hypocrisy. It may seem kind of odd for the Republic to be calling that out, But really what he's just saying is that Devin Malatate, who maybe in the past has had other positions, seem to be in favor of enforcing interstellar order right now, simply because that interstellar order is to the advantageous benefit to the Federation because they're currently in the weakest position. Okay? That track? That's pretty much that one. Caldari Mimitar Security Conference held in Arakan with Spying Row in focus. Arakan, the Forge. Caldari and Mimitar political, military, and security officials are reported to be participating in a security cooperation conference in the Arakan system, with the Edencom Concord espionage scandal believed to be at the top of the agenda. Reports indicate that the conference is being personally hosted by the Hasiota Corporation CEO, Atanan Osman, as the megacorporation station in orbit of the Arakan 4 Moon 3. Attendees from the Caldari side are also indicated to include members of the Caldari Navy Intelligence and even the secretive head of the House of Records Archive K. It has been reported that the representatives of the NOH's Internal Security and Suvi's Peace and Order Unit corporations are also involved in the conference. One confirmed attendee of the famed Minato Zumari, a hero of the Caldari Navy and founder of the mercenary corporation Zumari Force Projection, known to be closely tied to the Caldari military. The Mimitar delegation to the conference includes long-serving crucial parliamentarian and Shakur ally Tobias Ifrit, together with members of the Republic Security Services and Republic Fleet Intelligence. Kumatar Alec Burals, chief director of the RSS Planetary Security Kumatariat, is also reported to be attending alongside representatives of the Tribal Council. It has been speculated, but not confirmed, that the Executive General Heike Torigo and Hetman General Kenneth Filmar will also be present at the conference. The two officers are respectively the overall commander of the Caldari State Mimitar Republic operations in the militia war zones. Given the gravity of the Edencom Concord spying row and the strain that is placed on relations between the state and the Empire, this is much speculation that Caldari and Mimitar diplomacy may be looking to effect a realignment in the structure of interstellar alliances. And we get this lovely picture of Heike Torigo. Yeah, so this was really kind of interesting. So one of the big questions about this is that, like, is this going to lead to a realignment in how faction warfare goes? Like, is this going to lead to a four-way war? Is this going... Up until now, we've kind of seen a strengthening of the bonds between the Amarr and the Caldari and between the Mimitar and the Gallente. But this throws that into, you know, negative light, right? Where the Caldari and the Mimitar... Well, the Mimitar lately made some direct overtures towards the Caldari. When the spying row was first exposed, Kanyun specifically called out to the Caldari that the Amarr are not your friends, and so this could be why they're reaching across the aisle. The Caldari have had a history with working along for the Mimitar, especially Ishikone. You know, it's not unreasonable. However, the Mimitar also have the technology that the Caldari need as well. So we'll have to see where that goes. You know, just because something is moving forward doesn't mean that it won't be disrupted, right? The Mimitar Caldari alignment is particularly interesting, especially as we watch, because the Mimitar Caldari pirate group that is closely associated with the Deathless, but. This is actually one of the ones that I said that we're going to have like another episode or whatever. I'm going to have to dig into this because there are so many names here that are worth looking up for any sort of history. So we'll have to return to this one another time. Senators Kellen Ontbod and Shailene Ramnev visit Antaki Prime on fact-finding mission. Antaki Placid. A Federation Senate delegation visiting Antaki Prime on a fact-finding mission is being led by Senators Kelvin Ontbod and Shailene Ramnev, both former candidates for president of the Gallente Federation. The senatorial mission is scheduled to inspect Federation military installations across Antaki Prime, but its first meeting with the Executive Council of the Antaki Assembly, chaired by Chief Counselor Vera N. Sulasio. Senator Ontbod is a long-standing member of the Federal Senate with a following in the Federation's Mimitar diaspora, although Verrocchio, artist and political activist, is not universally admired across a large population drawn from numerous tribes and clans. Senator Shailene Ramnev was elected to the Senate for the subdistrict of Greater Arcurio region, Luminaire, in this year's Senate quintal elections filling a seat that covers her old mayoralty of the city of Arcurio of Caldari Prime. The visit to Antaki Prime by the Senate delegation has been cautiously welcomed by Senator Suvio Belleron, who said, quote, "I trust that my senatorial colleagues will be able to see that the federal military overreached badly here, and that the Senate should resist and roll back the militarization of the Antaki system by President Agard's administration," end quote. Jonas Ivestara, leader of the Antaki autonomists, expressed outright skepticism that this visit would, quote, "bear any but the most bitter fruit, given the Senate delegation's focus on talking with Federation military and the collaborationist executive council," end quote. So this one is the one that we've got a lot of, we're going to be digging into hopefully later as well. These senators all have a pretty long history with each other, and I think that that's a lot of what this is all about. There is a lot of controversy behind the taking of Antaki by Selis Agard. The senator here, Suvio Belleron, is a long-standingly hostile against Selis Agard and an political opportunist. However, he also seems to really have a good position to be complaining at the moment, given it's his district, that is under occupation. Now, I do find it interesting, and we'll be looking into Shalin Ramnev when we look through Selis Agard's backstory. But Shalin Ramnev, it's worth noting that Arcurio is on Caldari Prime. It's the second largest city of Caldari Prime. So this was the former mayor of Caldari Prime, and now the senator in charge of the subdistrict for that city on Caldari Prime. So there's a lot of interesting things again here to pull back. I also want to look into the Sulasio character, which I don't think I've seen their name before, so it might be worth digging into. But this is just kind of another slow burning thing. News in brief. Mimitar military station construction and ammo proceeds on track as Republic fleet takes delivery of new capital ships and escort vessels. Construction of the Amarr HQ and fortifications in Mehithor enters new phase as Captain Marshal Zerdan Serkosh inspects newly assigned ships. These two things make it so I want to go back to those locations, see how much more buildup there is. Gris's pirates launch new raids on Caldari state facilities in DS Tech M4Q Constellation, Syndicate region. That's pretty cool. The Grisses are attacking the new Caldari areas in the new constellation and Syndicate that they took. Might be worth checking that out. Serpentis Corporation reported to have brokered territorial agreement between organized crime and smuggling networks. Interesting. So the Deathless, who got started kind of striking out against the Serpentis, the smuggling rings, which could potentially, when we see organized crime and smuggling networks, we're usually looking at things like the Deathless's group. And so the fact that finally the Serpentis or they seem to have come to territorial agreements has some interesting speculation to it. I kind of wonder whether or not there's talking about having a section of the Gallente, or maybe part of the Gallente and Caldari areas, instead of being Garistus and Serpentis, will now be Deathless territory, but we'll have to see. Angel Cartel assault Nefintir Mining Association colonies in Carrara, derelicts stealing equipment and materials. Blood Raider sees convoy transporting large shipment of war clone blanks from Fabai Constellation. Sisters of Eve reports a widespread devastation on Soshin as Sanchez Nation incursion breaches planetary defenses. Edencom Provost Marshal Kasia Valkanir summoned to attend Concord Assembly session by Inner Circle President. Reports from Vale in Triglavian-occupied Pochvan indicates raids on planet by Svarog-aligned assault troops. Now, the weird thing about that is I think Vale is in Cry Veles, not in Cry Svarog, so that's kind of interesting. Caldari residents on Sekenta 4 reports telescopic observation of, quote, battle in orbit between Perun fleet and gigantic rogue drone. Is Sekenta Perun? It is. So Perun are battling a gigantic rogue drone. Could be Velez related. Edencom monitoring station in Rarvos detects, quote, large energy discharge in suborbital zone of Rarvos 2. And I believe Rarvos is Kreisfarog as well, right? Rarvos is where Port Sorum is, which is where the broadcast from the guy from Vale, the Triglavian guy, Seriatim Foucault, that's his name. Yeah, Seriatim Foucault was there. So, yep, that is the news for today. February 24th, YC125. I have been Ashtarothi, the voice of New Eden, and until next time, I'll see you in space.